I mean, every Hollywood film is speaking about this. Even Arnold is saying, follow your heart. But the problem is nobody tells you how.
To me, this has always been the path, and it's been like breathing, actually, Can't do without it.
Heart does what everybody knows it does. It pumps blood and gives blood supply to the organs, then gets the bad blood, pumps it to the lungs and purifies it. But once I got into meditation, I realized that, and then you look back and feel that the heart feels. I mean, you could realize that all the emotions, all the intuitions were coming from here.
Before Heartfulness and all this movement into the heart, people thought it was all in your head, that you had to balance your brain, you had to do all this, but they were really disconnected from the real source. Now we know in science that the heart actually communicates twice as much to the brain as the brain does to the heart. So the heart is really the controller.
We're trying to become one with everything, you could say. We're trying to achieve a state of unity, of oneness. And the only way to do that is really to become one with everything, is to merge with the whole, the totality of existence and what was before existence. The state in yoga that's called Samadhi. Complete oneness with what was there in the beginning. And that is a state of stillness of consciousness. Patanjali, who was a great yogic sage, he said that yoga is the cessation of the vrittis in the field of consciousness, which means the cessation of all the movement, all the activity, all the turmoil in the field of consciousness, back to stillness. You can imagine a very still pond of water with no ripples, where your consciousness is like that. But how on earth to get there?
Being a science fiction enthusiast, I always had this idea of the force, right? Let the force be with you, and it's this abstract idea, and it's fun and inspirational. But the beauty is that when I experienced yogic transmission for the first time, I kind of felt it.
Some of you would have heard of grace descending from the divine or the center or whatever you like to call it. It's a commonly used term in most religions. It's, a state of grace is a very profound state. And you can imagine that grace, like the sunshine, is flowing everywhere in the universe all the time. But then what happens with the sun, if you take a magnifying glass and you concentrate that sunlight into a spot, you're bringing attention of that sunlight to do something useful with it, using a magnifying glass. All kids know this, I think. I used to go around with a magnifying glass as a kid, trying to burn paper and do all sorts of things. So imagine that grace is descending, flowing the same way everywhere. But then there's a person, what we would call a yogi of calibre, who has the capacity to condense that in the same way, to utilise it for our evolution, and to transmit it to us through their heart into our heart, for our evolution, for our transformation, for our enlightenment, you can say. And that's transmission. The yogic terminology is Pranahuti, which means offering of prana.
And actually there is a clear proven fact in medicine that life is all about frequencies. It is about frequencies, and that's how transmission occurs. It's transmission of frequency from one end to another, and it's known in science. It's not that entire universe is working on the waveform theory. So I think it's the most scientific thing to know.
I had to go back to my hometown, and he was in Dresden. And he said, yes, I can make a transmission for you. We can meditate together. And I couldn't understand, like, we were in completely different cities, like how should we be able to meditate together? So it was really funny. But he said, no, it's like, doesn't really matter. It's just time and space, you know, we're still connected. We can still meditate together. And then I said, yeah, okay, let's try it. And I think it worked.
I would say this meditation helped me always to keep a kind of inner contentment and an inner guidance.
I'm one of the things that drew me to Heartfulness, because of course I was traveling around on a shoestring, was I could never have afforded to pay for any kind of teacher or anything. So, you know, this fit me just to a T because it was free and still is free.
As time was going by and I was doing the meditation, I felt like really something was changing, because really before I was like hot-tempered person, and when maybe I want to do something, maybe when you say, okay, we will meet somewhere and I'm waiting for you, like maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds, you're not there, I will just go. So now I was like I was like more calm and peaceful in such a way that so many things I was not shouting so much at people. Yeah, I was not angry. So I think I started feeling like more at peace.
Oh my God, it's a game changer, believe me. What I was before and now, if you can see it, if someone has seen me, will say there are two different individuals, there are two different people living on the planet.
But I think the main thing is that it has given me a purpose to my life, so that anything that does happen, I know that it's not the end of the world. I know it's a process of having to go through these things. You know, like grief, when my husband died suddenly when he was 47. And it was a surprise. I had two kids, they were 15 and 11 at the time, and it was a deep shock. But if it hadn't been for the meditation, if it hadn't been for my teacher at the time, Jariji, I think the repercussions would have been much worse than they actually were. But it was easier for me to accept this circumstance and to move on. I think that there was like a faith of really being, it's really hard to describe, but I think that I came sooner to a point of embracing the pain of the grief and being able to move on sooner than I would have if I hadn't been meditating, if I hadn't had that deep connection.
You are raised to another dimension, and you do feel that there is something above and beyond yourself in this journey, which is a very, very special feeling. Because a lot of times, you know, if you look at the modern day challenges we have of stress, loneliness, depression even, a lot of it comes from this idea that I am alone. What is my purpose in life? Am I living up to my expectations? Am I, like, all of these struggles? And one of the things that I have been fortunate enough is when I feel even the slightest, shall we say, disturbance in the force, right, or challenge, all I have to do is close my eyes and just let it be.
In America, the National Institute of Health, which would probably 3 years ago never talk to me. I did a study just showing after one meditation what happens. We had a 100-person study, and we showed the physiology changed 30%. And they've actually asked me to come there this year and actually present my paper to the whole community. And usually they're really wound up into drugs, you know, and getting a drug solution. But we're finding that that's kind of running its course, that people are finding that drugs are very limited. They might be good for short-term results, but long-term the body forms an immunity to them. And the nice thing about meditation is your body never forms an immunity to your own neurology. So if we can fix it, then we have a great way of improving our lives.
From the start, it's been more important than food. In the morning before I have breakfast, I need to meditate.